take a listen what happens if I turn this all the way up. What up peeps, welcome back to the channel. Today I'll show you 6 different random tips in FL Studio that I use pretty much every time I produce. Now some of you might already know some of these tips, well I guess good for you, but I hope to tell you something that you didn't know. Anyway, let's get into it. Alright, for the first tip I want to show you, we need some sort of hat or like a snare. I've loaded 3 for you here. So let's start out with the middle one. So first double click it, then reverse it here. Then navigate to the effects tab and find the button called Pogo. Now take a listen what happens if I turn this all the way up. Now this creates just a really cool effect that you can use instead of just normal white noise. I'm gonna do the exact same thing with a few different samples so you can hear what kind of results you can get. Alright, so I've made the other 2. Let's have a listen. So this trick I use actually quite a lot, most noticeably in my track called Outro. I've actually combined them with some sort of impact. But anyway, let's continue on to tip number 2. So tip number 2 is really great for the next time you're gonna make a bass. So just go to any track and then go to track mode, instrument track, and then I'm gonna load just Patcher. That's how I usually do it. You can do it your own way if you don't want to do it this way. It's completely fine. So I just quickly made this bass line and I found a pretty random sound for it. Let's have a listen. You get the idea. Now what I'm gonna do is actually load the sub bass also. So I've just used Helm to make a sine wave. Well, I could have used 3x oscillator, but it's not supported in Patcher, which is what I'm using right now. Just gonna name these. There we go. So now I've essentially just layered a sub and a bass, and now I'm just gonna slap on some TDR and over to equalize this. So for the bass sound itself, I'm just gonna low cut it. Kind of like this. And then I don't think this really needs a high pass, the low pass. There we go. I could also add some side chain to the bass. So I guess this trick kind of just boils down to split up the higher frequencies of your bass with the lower frequencies. That way it gets really easy to mix and will easily fit into your track. I'm actually gonna add on a plugin called Pancake. This one right here. So Pancake just actually auto pans the bass from left to right. You should wear headphones for this, by the way. Now, normally you'd like to keep your bass in the middle of your mix, keep it in mono basically. But since we have actually split up the bass, only the higher frequencies get panned left to right, while the lower frequencies just stay in the middle. So tip number 3 is using shakers as kind of a percussion. So I'm gonna add kickstart to sidechain it. And I actually really enjoy to combine this with a snap. I'm gonna put on a little reverb on the snap. And there we go. So this is actually a really powerful way of implementing some percussion into your tracks. I've used this on so many tracks by now. And I just love it. Even if it's just very subtle in the background, I think it just adds so much rhythm to anything. Tip number 4 is just a really quick one. If you guys didn't know, you can press Alt W in your mixer and then you're good like a waveform instead. This is just a normal kind of meter. Alt W and you see these kind of things. To be quite honest with you, I have actually no idea what this might be good for, but I can tell you I just like the way that it looked, so I've just kind of kept it like this. Anyway, just a small tip. Let's continue on. So for tip number 5, I'm actually gonna keep the percussion that I made, because now I want to show you a really cool way that I like to make my snares. Now this is really easy to remember. You just have to remember clap, snap, snare, which basically you just layer a snap, a clap, and a snare. It's pretty simple. I've already found a snap. Let's find a clap and a snare. Alright, so I just found a clap. I had the snap already. And a snare. You can of course use any kind of version of any of these. Now what I really like to do is actually move the clap a bit forward so it actually comes on a bit early, a bit offbeat actually. So just hold in Alt to go off the grid and you can move it pretty precisely. You hear the difference? Now I can just replace all of my snaps with my clap snap snare. Now what I like to do is actually just keeping the snare in the middle, then the clap and the snap tongue twisters, I'll pan them a bit to the left and the right. I also like to put just a little bit of reverb on the snare. That's too much, obviously. So the So tip number 6, which is also the last one, is a really efficient way of putting in hats or kicks, snares, you name it. So I've just found a hat and put it into a playlist. I'm gonna hold Alt on my keyboard, then I'm gonna crop the sample exactly to the grid. Because what this allows me to do is zoom out a bit, mark this, then I'm gonna hold Control and B. I put in a bit too much, I'm just gonna delete them. So because I've actually cropped it exactly to the grid, these will not get out of sync. Let's have a listen. You can also do it offbeat, like this. So I found another sample. So again, just crop it to the exact length. Mark it, Control B. Oh, there we go. So, I mean, just using these 6 simple tricks, I've actually made like a little loop here. Well, anyway, that's it for my tips. I hope you guys learned something new. If not, well, I guess I'm sorry I wasted like 3-5 minutes of your time. But thank you for watching. Thanks for liking, subscribing, all that stuff. Also, check out the new merch at the merch store. Link is as always in the description. If you want to support the channel, you can go ahead and get yourself a nice shirt. Well, anyway, let's get this sellout off the screen. I hope to see you next time. Stay lit, folks.